Shalom. I'm going to start this off by giving honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Wahawah Kakwadash. Peace and salutations to the elect men of Israel, starting with the elder apostles of GMS on down, to the rest of you brothers and the brothers that I labor with, who all push forth the will and doctrine of Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, in all faith, truth, and sincerity, according to the true understanding of the scriptures. To all of you, I say Shalom. So this is just going to be a quick lesson in regards to birthdays not being something that's ordained by the Lord. It's not a holy day, nor is it approved by the Lord. You know, you going to hell off if you trying to celebrate yourself, right? And I'm gonna just bring out a couple of scriptures just to further add to the point, right? So this is Amos chapter 5 and verse 21. It says, I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. It says, though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them. Neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beasts. And this go for all holidays, you know, because the word holiday just derives from holy day. But yet all the holidays that are set up aren't anything in regards to being holy. It is not set up in a way to remember and to reflect and to bring you closer to the Lord, but it's all things to take you away from the Lord, you know. All things to where you now are rejecting the Lord and going on to serve other gods in a slew of different ways. But nonetheless, right? Let me do this real quick, cause I'm gonna get this Job in the first chapter, but I want to get these words here, right? So when you scroll down and you go into solemn assemblies, right? So solemn assemblies, it says an assembly being a sacred or festive meeting, right? So real quick, just to get into that word, sacred, right? You have here holy, hallowed, right? Sanctified, but you also have dedicated and revered, right? So most of the time, you know, you hear people typically use the word sacred when they're talking about something that's prominent, something that's special, you know, something that's esteemed to a high degree, you know. And when you look at birthdays, it's something that people are dedicated to celebrating every single year. They give it reverence in regards to it being something special that you have to remember. You have to do this, and it's all just vainglory, you know. You're idolizing yourself, and you don't understand the origins of this being a custom, you know, and it being a specific custom that's been set up outside of the covenant, you know. Because again, the Lord set up holy days, and this ain't a holy day, right? Nor is you celebrating so-called Jesus' birthday a holy day, you know. Because if the Lord say he despised all of them, that include the one that you try to hold so dear to yourself, like it's us celebrating the Lord. It's not you celebrating the Lord. Because the Lord didn't tell you to celebrate that, you know? And he said that he despised those things because everybody doing things in all the wrong reasons. So, you could just see how some of the synonyms here can be applied to the different spirit, or how people, uphold, or esteem birthdays, right? And then again, you have festive meeting, right? Everybody's getting together, and that's like what a meeting is. And it's festive, right? What is festive going to? It says jolly, merry, joyful, happy, cheerful, good time, high-spirited, right? It says holiday, Christmassy, right? Frolicsome. And then you have right here, it says relating to a festival, especially Christmas. You see? So that further even shows it to you. The Lord not dealing with this, right? But how do we know this to be the case, right? When we go to Job 1, right? And as you're reading Job, you know what? Let me do this real quick. So in Job chapter 2, right, you have a meeting being established, right? Where Satan comes in the midst, and really I'll read through. But the point is going to be in verse 3 in regards to what I'm going to be speaking to, or making this point in regards to why I'm bringing up chapter 2, right? So Job 2:1, it says, again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. And Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said unto Satan, from whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. Right? So Satan's basically telling the Lord what he go on to do. Right? We know Satan goes to and fro through the earth, right? Seeing who he can plague, mess with, right? Pretty much move people to go off and sin and do things that's unseemly, things that aren't convenient in regards to being righteous things according to the Lord, right? But what does the Lord go on to say? It says, and the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job? It says that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil, right? So one that turns away from evil, and that's the point right there. The Lord went on to describe the characteristics of this man, him being a perfect man, an upright man, and one that fears the Lord, right? So he's one that looks to do what's right, and he has a mind that's stayed on the Lord and looking to do the things that's right, And during this time, this is a time when we used to give sacrifices, you know what I'm saying? Especially sin offerings, right? So this is now what's going to bring me to my point in verse 4. So this is Job chapter 1 verse 4, right? And on the right side, I have the Hebrew name version of the Bible. And I got it because it go on to specifically establish what's being spoken about here, right? So this is Job 1 verse 4. It says, and his sons went and feasted in their house, every one his day, right? That's key right there. It says, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all, not of him. You know, it's not talking about according to Job, but according to his sons and his daughters, right? It says, for Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. You see? So he did that on more than one occasion. Now we're going to read it in the HNV. It says, his sons went and held a feast in the house of each one on his birthday. You see? So everyone on his day is everyone on his birthday. Right? So this is an account in the scriptures showing you how people used to do this. You know? But why is it that Job is going on to offer up a sacrifice on their behalf? Right? Offer up a burnt offering on their behalf in regards to them sinning and them turning away from the Lord. Because this is something that's against the Lord. This is something that has not been established by the Lord. But you going on to reject the Lord, trying to worship you. And you're not supposed to worship, man. You know? You're not supposed to worship yourself. You can't forget that we subject to sin, right? And we've sinned in our past lives on top of that. So you looking to get right with the Lord and stay right with the Lord and not do anything that could be offensive to him, you know? But if you go on to idolize yourself, which again, like, it don't even make sense, because it's not like congruent with real life, you know? You could be a shitty ass person, but yet you're looking to get praised and have people praise you because it's your so-called birthday. That's stupid as fuck, you know? Just to keep it frank, but that's how you know it's not real. Because if you like a shitty person, why would it make sense in this moment for you to be praised like you're a wonderful person, you know? Or if money's tight, you know, you looking to save, you got bills to pay. Oh, but it's your birthday. I gotta spend money on my birthday. Like, the way that people put this on a pedestal and give reverence to it and are dedicated to it are in ways that aren't congruent with the Lord, that aren't congruent with reality. You know, you hear most people say like there's no different feeling. I should say more specifically men. You know, you wake up on your so-called birthday and ain't shit changed. Still got the same responsibilities that you gotta deal with the day before and the day after. You know, it's not real. It's not real, and it's not a day that's celebrated. You know, in this world's traditions go. It's not a day that's being used to reflect, right, and on yourself, on your actions, take accountability, be in a position to remember, right? Remember the things of old, or remembering things that were said of the Lord to bring you ultimately closer to Him. You know, which again ain't to say that you can't have, like, you know, have moments and times of having fun and things like that, but again, all through moderation, all when it makes sense to. You know what I'm saying? And not in this regard. Which is why Job went on to do what he did. Because going about it this way and this way, they went the hell off, right? As it went on to say, but I'm going to continue reading, right? So it says, his sons went and held a feast in the house of each one on his birthday. And they sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. So now you bringing along people to go off with you. You know what I'm saying? It says, now now that's like blood on your hands, you know? But it says, it was so when the days of their feasting had run their course that Job sent and sanctified them and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and renounced God in their hearts. You see? Give up, relinquish, abandon. You see? Reject, refuse to recognize. You see? So now you got a separation between you and the Lord, right? And that's how Christians go about doing things. You know, only times they holy is on Sunday. Every other day of the week, they're not looking to incorporate the Lord in their daily walk and their daily actions. You know, they don't have the Lord at the center of their life, right? So where every decision that you make, the Lord is a part of it. You know. That's the type of mentality that we need to be striving for, because again, we're supposed to be trusting in his mind, not our own, right? Our minds are desperately wicked, but the Lord's mind is right. That's why he go on to say, my ways are not your ways, you know? My thoughts are not your thoughts. Neither are my ways your ways. Our ways are subject to sin. Our ways are subject to the flesh, to going to hell off. But the Lord being the creator of all things, what he say is what goes, you know? And that was something the brother Padar had said, but in one of our previous lessons. So you shouldn't be putting yourself in a position to where you now forgetting the Lord, you know? Like mothers get to party in the world now, and they allow something that's carnal, something of the flesh, a vice of theirs, you know, to have reign over them, have power over them, you know. And that's why that's what you don't want to subject yourself to. That's what you should be looking to refrain from, and that's the things that you should be looking to rebuke and fix, so that they no longer have power over you. So that way you can't be in a position to where you not getting fucked up because you couldn't fucking control yourself, you know, whatever the case may be. But nonetheless, you shouldn't be looking to put yourself in a position to where you end up rejecting the Lord or giving up on the Lord, you know? So that's pretty much the point right there, you know? Again, the scriptures go on to say here in Amos 5:21, it says, I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. Right? So when we went into that, and go on to show it being festive meetings, right? Sacred and festive meetings, right? Being festive get-togethers, right? And also went on to mention different holidays like Christmas, you know. But again, that's what you see when people celebrate holidays. But the Lord don't say nothing about holidays. He say everything about holy days. And those are the things that have been established by the Lord. And it's for the right reasons. It's meant to bring you closer to the Lord. So that way you don't get got. So that way you don't go on to destroy yourself. Because that's what ended up happening with Job's kids. All got killed, you know. They ain't do nothing to help the situation with them going off like this. But nonetheless, because the point was, it's showing you that's something that's off. Because if it wasn't something that was off, Job would have never went on to make a burnt offering, sacrifice a burnt offering on their behalf, right? In hopes to take away the sin and iniquity that they went on to commit, you know, with them celebrating their birthdays. Cursing the Lord, renouncing the Lord, you know. So it says, verse 22, though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them, neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beasts. You see? So just a few scriptures in regards to speaking on the matter, right? Birthdays is not a thing that's esteemed by the Lord. So your best bet is to turn away from the customs of this world and turn towards the customs and traditions of the Lord, right? Rehearsing the righteous acts, so that way, you know, you can become closer to the Lord, right? And that's pretty much it. So Lord willing, to edifying with that, I'm going to give all the praise and glory to Yahweh. By Hashem Yahushai, Waharakak Wadash. Till next time.